Let's bring in our panel. Rebeccah Heinrichs, a Hudson Institute Senior Fellow, and Jamil Jaffer, National Security Institute founder and Executive Director, and former Associate Counsel to President Bush. Thank you both so much for being here. Let's start off, actually, on this issue of these protests. I want to bring up this Wall Street Journal opinion piece. Anger against the regime is rising, and the U.S. should lend support, writes the editorial board. Quote, in 2009, Barack Obama made the mistake of staying mute as the regime crushed protesters because he wanted a nuclear deal with the Ayatollah. Mr. Trump may be tempted by the same mirage. But if Iran wanted a deal, it could have returned to the negotiating table after the war. The Iranians, risking their lives, deserve meaningful support. Rebeccah, I want to start off with you. Do you see this as an opportunity here for the Trump administration to get more involved now that we are seeing unrest in Iran that we have not seen in about 15 years?
Well, certainly the United States should back the Iranian people, and we have rhetorically done so. I was glad to see Mike Waltz, our UN ambassador, put out a statement embracing the protests of the Iranian people against the regime. As you noted, the systemic repression and mismanagement on the part of the Iran regime is squarely to blame for these protests. As these protests continue to spread, what we should be cheering for as Americans is that they reach the numbers of the 2019, 2020, and 2009, as you mentioned, during the Obama administration, because then at that point you can get the IRGC, that's the militant wing of the Iran regime. They can flip, side with the people until you get those people that have all of the weapons to flip. I'm afraid that this isn't going to finally push the regime over, but it is in the interest of the United States to have a pro-American, anti-Iran regime in power.
Now, while this is happening, these protests in Iran, there's now conversation about possibly a round two of attacks against Iran by Israel and the United States. In fact, Axios reporting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had this conversation with President Trump on Monday about possibly attacking Iran for a second time and their nuclear capabilities. Let's play this sound from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with our Brett Baer. Listen.
I'm not sure they've decided to cross the line because I think they heed President Trump's warnings, and also because they've just experienced something. Less than a year ago, they saw what it entails, and they have to choose. Look, we don't seek escalation. I hope they don't, but if they do, all bets are off.
Jamil, Axios reporting that Netanyahu talked to President Trump about attacking Iran possibly here because they think that they could get a surprise attack from Iran. What do you make of Netanyahu saying that and that possibility?
Well, Brian, of course, the challenge here is that the president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, who's close to the supreme leader, the #2 person in Iran, said just earlier this week that they are at war with the United States and Israel. If they are at war, by the way, this is a war they're losing. The U.S. hit them hard on their nuclear facilities just back in June. The Israelis have taken out their proxy forces in Hezbollah and Hamas and have done a great job taking out their air defenses. So if the Iranians want a war, they can have a war, but it's not a war they're going to win. And it's a mistake for them to seek that war. At the end of the day, they really should look out for their own people. Their inflation rates are at 40+%, up to 1995 levels. This is an economic disaster for the Iranian regime. They need to get their house in order. And the way to do that is to do what their people need, which is to put a democratic regime in place that is not run by the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei.
And I want to get this response from the both of you finally on this, on whether or not you believe that there will be a phase 2 of the Gaza deal that will be successful. Will Hamas disarm? Will there be this formation of a board of peace in Gaza? How do you foresee that going in this first month of 2026? We'll start off with Rebeccah, then go to Jamil.
Well, of course, when we talk about disarming Hamas, what we mean is eliminating Hamas. And President Trump has been clear that it's going to be Arab partners that are going to go in there, and they're the ones that are going to have to do that, and they're the ones that have committed to doing that. Hamas is not going to willingly lay down their arms, but this is necessary for there to be peace in the region, for Israel to not have to go back in and continue to conduct operations to protect their own people. Hamas has to be removed, and it has to be done primarily by America's partners, and that is the Gulf states. So far, they've been unwilling to do so, but the United States has to keep the pressure on them to hold up their end of the deal.
And Jamil?
Yeah, Brian, Rebeccah is exactly right. Hamas is not going to be willing to put down their weapons. They have to as part of this deal. If they're not going to do that, the Israelis are going to come in and take care of them. That's not the situation the U.S. wants either. Hamas has got to give up. The question then becomes, let's say they did put down their weapons, which they're not going to. But if they did, who's going to govern Gaza? That's the hard question. The Palestinian Authority doesn't have legitimacy there now. There are some former Palestinian leaders who might be able to come back. We'll have to see how that plays out. But at the end of the day, what's in the best interest of Israel and the Palestinian people is for Hamas to disarm, get out of the business of trying to be there and be influential, because they are a disaster for the Palestinian people and for Israeli security.
All eyes will be on this, no doubt. Rebeccah, Heinrichs, Jamil, Jaffer, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Happy New Year.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.